Good afternoon, everyone. I am Gina Bivens, City Council Representative for District 5, and I am a bit impaired this afternoon in that I can't see anyone. But I'm excited to be here because what I have seen that's in store for what we now call Cowan Place just warms my heart, makes me feel excited about Stop 6, and I'm just so glad to be partnered with the people from Fort Worth Housing Solutions led by Mary Margaret Lemons. I hope that was an ample introduction, Mary Margaret. If I'm supposed to do something else, I can't read, I can't see, so take it away.
No, the best thing about you is you need no notes and you don't even need a screen to look at. You know exactly what to do. So I appreciate you joining us this afternoon, and I hope you have a speedy recovery with those eyes. But we wanted to welcome all of our friends and partners to the second Stop 6 update for this fall. As you all know, it takes a village, and we've been on this journey for a few years now, but we are really starting to see a lot of movement and wanted to make sure that we brought you along every step of the way. So on the screen, you'll see the slide with all of the lead partners. The Housing Authority, Fort Worth Housing Solutions, of course, our partners over at the City of Fort Worth, we could not do this without them. And Fort Worth ISD is playing a large role in the education component for the people portion of our choice neighborhood. So it's my honor today to get to introduce you to Lachelle Goodrich, who is the director of our Stop 6 Choice Neighborhood Initiative. And so she's going to act as our MC, and I'm going to let her go forth and conquer.
Hello, everyone. Again, thank you all for joining us, and it is so great to see everyone. We want to first acknowledge, thank you, Mary Margaret and Councilwoman Gina Bivens, but we have a couple of special guests that we have, which is Terry Attaway, who is Fort Worth Housing Solutions' very own chairwoman of Board of Commissioners. So thank you for joining us. Then we have Gary Jones, who is the Chief of Staff for the State Senator Beverly Powell, and Councilwoman Ann Zeta, who is the City Councilwoman for District 9. So thank you for being with us. Our team has been working nonstop to serve our residents and to meet many of those deadlines involved in regards to transformational efforts here. So we are excited to welcome you. I have a few people I want to do a couple of introductions regarding their presentation. We have Lou Bernardi, who is of McCormick Barron Salazar, who serves as the Senior VP for the leading for-profit developer here, and he's working very strategically with Brian Dennison and Mary Margaret and the entire team. Then we have Michael Bennett, who is principal and CEO of Fort Worth-based Bennett and Berner Partners, who is the architect for our future senior living community, Cowan Place. Here you'll get an update on our wonderful efforts to engage the minority and women-owned subcontractors here at Fort Worth Housing Solutions, as well as the Fort Worth Housing Solutions residents, to work with our wonderful partner, Demetria Bivens, who is the founder of DLB Consultants. After that, you'll hear from Simeon Henderson, who is our senior project manager for the people portion of our grant, who is a part of U.S. Urban Strategies, Inc. Sorry about that. To give us an update on the ongoing work that he and his wonderful team, they're doing with the service linkage with our former Cowell residents to make sure that they are informed, as well as have the services that they need on where they are currently located to be successful. Throughout this presentation today, please feel free to post any questions inside the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. We will recognize as many questions as possible at the end of each speaker's presentation. If we can't get to your answer today, we'll make every effort to follow up with you afterwards. Also, be reminded that we are recording this session and we'll share the presentation afterwards to everyone that was registered. Thank you again for joining this conversation with us. And now I will turn it over to Lou Bernardi and Michael.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. Appreciate you making the time and being available for this update. Lou Bernardi with McCormick Barron Salazar. We're the developer partner with Fort Worth Housing Solutions. on the implementation of the housing component of the Choice Neighborhood Transformation Plan. I'll be today just providing a very brief update on the status of the housing plan, but with particular emphasis on the abatement and demolition plan for Cabell, and then transitioning to a discussion, really brief discussion or overview of the planned unit mix and our anticipated timeline for carrying out the development of Cowan Place Senior Living, which of course is the initial phase, first of 6 phases of new rental housing construction that will occur under the Choice Neighborhood Plan over the course of the next several years. Then I will transition and invite Michael Bennett, who's principal and CEO of Bennett Partners, the architect in charge of the design of Cowan Place, to provide an overview of the site and give you a sense of what the initial concept looks relative to the building design, our initial floor plan concept, and sort of just lay out what our plans are and the direction that we're going in relative to the design work, which is underway currently. We, again, as the developer partner with Fort Worth Housing Solutions, one of our tasks is to oversee the planning and execution of the abatement and demolition of the existing Cabell public housing site. As you know, 300 units built 1954, and the Fort Worth Housing Solutions certainly did an evaluation several years ago and determined that rehabilitation was not feasible and opted for approval or seeking approval from HUD for the demolition of the site as part of an overall plan for redevelopment. Fort Worth Housing Solutions engaged in a very comprehensive relocation process. Residents have been relocated, all of them with provided with tenant protection vouchers to help them ease into their new homes temporarily or permanently. And certainly families from Cabell will have the first priority of return to the various phases of new construction under the plan. As part of our work, we put out a request for qualifications for contractors who would be interested in and qualified to do the abatement and demolition work. We did that in June. While those were being assessed by those companies, we, in our consultant team, completed an environmental assessment and essentially did the testing that needed to be done on the buildings and on the site, et cetera, to help us understand how to put together the scope of work that would be needed to carry out the demolition, the abatement and the demolition. We received responses from 3 firms, 4 firms actually. We pre-qualified 3 of them and subsequently invited them through a request for proposal to provide a specific proposal and fee proposal for the actual demolition and abatement. We received responses earlier this month. Did the evaluation of those responses and has since submitted a recommendation to Fort Worth Housing Solutions, and they are currently reviewing that recommendation and will be making a decision shortly and taking that decision recommendation to the board shortly. So we hope to be able to bring contractor on board with their team and issue notice to proceed and begin the work actually sometime in early November. Just transitioning to Cowan Place Senior Living, the plan is to develop a new senior living complex of 174 apartments, most of them 1-bedroom apartments. There are some 2 bedrooms as well. The income projection or income mix for the development essentially is to provide housing for very, very low income senior residents under the low income housing tax credit program. There'll be 117 apartments. As you recall saying earlier, there will be 48 of the new apartments that will be available to former residents of Cabell. And those are at a very, very low income level. And in addition, we will be including 9 apartments that will serve, will provide housing for permanent supportive housing for very low income, formerly homeless individuals. And we'll also be providing through services agreements with service providers, service coordinators, resident services for all of our residents when the development is complete. And you'll see a little bit more about that when Michael Bennett kind of previews the floor plan and the various interior amenities and exterior amenities that we're contemplating for the development. Next slide, please. Just to give you a brief understanding of our timeline. Financing obviously is a major component of this development plan. We are seeking low-income housing tax credits from the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, which is the state agency that administers the federal low-income housing tax credit program. We'll be submitting our application in early December. We also have a bond reservation, which essentially provides the ability to issue bonds for the housing authorities entity and raise capital that will be utilized for the construction of the development. We anticipate an award of the tax credits in mid-March, and we are working towards closing the financial transaction by the end of March so that we can initiate construction in April. We see completion dates for around November of 2022. After about a year of construction, we anticipate beginning through our property management company, McCormick Barron Management, pre-leasing for the development in April of 2022, and that will continue until we're full, which we anticipate will happen very, very close to our completion date. So that's what I have in terms of an update for Cabell Place and for Cowan. I'd like to introduce Michael Bennett, who again will go through the site plan and the concept and elevations that we're working on for the development.
Thank you, Lou, and thank you, Councilwoman Bivens. I think you actually look cool in those sunglasses. I think you should adopt that as a look. But anyway, we're really excited to be working with you all on this project. I feel like it's an important project that's really going to be the first step in a journey of really changing the neighborhood and in a really positive way. And we're really pleased and happy to be a part of it. Many of you know the site. That's what's on the screen right now. You see East Rosedale kind of cutting across the top. Stalcup, which you'll hear me talking about, is in the right-hand side there, the street on the right-hand side. And if you know the site today, you know that part in the lower right corner with the trees is a big hill. And so that's something that we wanted to deal with as we go through the process. And there are some nice big trees on that hill. And there's also some city right-of-way. You see Cutman Court at the bottom there. And we are going to leave that as it is. That street is not going to be extended. And so those trees will be able to stay there and be a buffer to the neighborhood as well. And the site has a lot of slope on it. It slopes, if I remember right, about 18 feet from the lower right corner to the upper left-hand corner. And so that's something that we've taken into account as we've worked through the design as well. One of the other things that those of you who live in the area, I'm sure know and think about is at the very top of the photograph, that kind of big slow curve up there is a train track. And it has trains, I think about every hour go on that track. And so one of the things that we've been interested in thinking about in the course of the design is how do we make these units soundproof enough so that the train doesn't wake you up at all hours of the day and night. And so that's another issue that we've thought about. Having lived next to a train track before, eventually you don't hear it anymore, but we want you guys not to hear it the day that you move in. So if we can go on to the next slide, this will be our site plan that we have developed for the project. And you'll see that there are really two main wings and then a connecting wing. The wing of the project on the bottom is kind of a split level thing. So that's on part of the hill, and the part of it that faces Rosedale is a little bit lower than that. You'll see we have today the site, of course, is all green space. And so one of the things that we're doing, you'll see in the lower left-hand corner, that will be a retention area so that in a heavy rain, we'll be able to keep the water there so it doesn't flood local streets and that kind of thing. We're also saving some of the trees that we can. Those are mainly mesquite trees, but there are a few oak trees that you see in a kind of a darker color in the bottom middle of the slide there, and those we're saving. And that's really the reason, part of the reason that parking lot curves the way it does, is to let us save those trees. And then when you see that other curve in the parking lot that goes on around, that's going downhill to a lower parking area. So we have about 150 parking spaces, if I remember correct. I can't quite read that, but I think it's about 150 spaces total. And as Lou mentioned, 174 units. A couple other things about the site plan to point out to you. We're conscious of having a single family neighborhood to the right-hand side of this slide to our east. And so you'll see that the two wings of the building face that with a courtyard, a drop-off kind of area in the middle. And so those smaller scale pieces of the project really are meant to try to match more the scale of the neighbors across the street. In between those, you'll see a drop-off area, and that's where visitors enter, and that's where the main entrance to the project is. And so you'll come into that courtyard, you'll be able to park there, and then enter the main part of the building there. On the wing that's to the north, where you see the part that says senior living, if you go to the far left-hand side of that, you will see that there's another entrance for residents, and there will be another elevator there because so many of the parking spaces are at that end of the site, that we put another entry and another elevator there for residents to be able to get through with card key access and that sort of thing. And that's also the place that when you're moving in and moving out, there's kind of a little dock area there. So it'll be an easier place to do that. And then the parking lot that's on the very bottom of it, the curvy one, that also will have a resident entry there. And then one of the other things that we're really excited about is that kind of tan area in between all the buildings. That is going to be a resident courtyard, which will have, and we're still working on this, but the thought is it will be an active place to have a number of different outdoor spaces that the residents can go outside and be in a protected area, but still have access to the outdoors. So that's intended to be something that has a variety of different uses in it. We're also thinking about how we incorporate art into this, and you'll see some of that in a moment. And so that's really the kind of highlights of the site plan. If we want to go on to the next slide, this is the ground floor plan. And so this is the part that faces Rosedale. And we considered for a brief period of time having the main entrance on Rosedale, but we thought it was safer to be around the corner so that the traffic is going at a slower rate. Rosedale also has a really long right turn lane that we couldn't interrupt. And so there are a lot of reasons that it seemed better and safer to put the main entrance on the Stalkup side. And as you're looking at this, if you see the light yellow color, those are administrative offices. So that's where you would go to talk to somebody about, something that's maybe amiss in your apartment or whatever. That's where the people that run the apartments will be next to the main entrance. And then I think the thing that's particularly excited are all those spaces that are in the green color. And that's a whole variety of things. On the lower part there where Kristen's arrow is at the moment, that's a yoga and a fitness area that faces out onto the courtyard. And then as you go up, you have a library, theater area it's a place where you can watch movies. There's a little kitchenette there in between. And then there's a lounge area kind of there in the corner. And then as you keep going up to the top, there's another lounge cafe area. There's a salon where you can get your hair done. And then on the right-hand side is a community room. And then as you go on down, there's a billiards room, and there's a crafts room, and then there's also an exam room. So there will be a doctor that comes and visits every so often, and so that's where you would go to be able to visit with him. And we didn't put that in an out of the way place because we didn't want anybody to feel embarrassed by going to the doctor. So here it feels like maybe you're just going to the salon or somewhere else, and actually you may be going to have a visit with the doctor. If you look at the two towards the bottom of the slide, you'll see two white squares in the gray right there, kind of where Kristen's arrow is. Those are two elevators. And then if you look to the upper left, you'll see one other white one. It's a little bit bigger because that one's the one where we think we'll be moving furniture up and down and that kind of thing. And then the light blue areas are units. And as Lou said, we have two units, one bedroom, which is about 611 square feet on average, and then the two bedroom unit, which is about 885 square feet. And those vary depending on, the ins and outs of the facade and that sort of thing. But then you see the total square footage, about 178,500 total square feet. So if we want to keep going, we're going to go to one of the upper floors, and this is kind of a more typical upper floor. And so you see the units laid out. The shape of the building is this way, partially to make the corridors not feel so long and uninterrupted. And we have some tricks that we're using along the corridors with recessing doors and with floor finishes and that kind of thing to mitigate the length of the corridors. The green areas you see on each floor are resident lounges. And there are also laundries and stuff like that. There are going to be laundry connections in each unit, but I think really Lou McCormick Barron has come to find that laundries become spaces where people really can have an opportunity to socialize with each other while the clothes are washing and that kind of thing. And so those typically get located near the lounges so that you can hang out and do that. And then there's kind of a nice lounge in the upper right-hand corner. You see that little green piece. We'll see that on the elevations in a minute, but that's a place where someone could go and really enjoy what I think will be a pretty nice view from that location. One other thing about the floor plan is we tried hard to always have a window at the end of each corridor so that these don't feel like long, uninterrupted, kind of corridors, but you actually get a little bit of natural light at the end of each one of these. So if you want to go on to level 2 and 3, this is the two levels, and many of the same things that I was just talking about. The green areas are laundries, lounge areas, restroom areas, public restroom areas there as well. And so the light blue again are the units. And so if we want to go to one more, this gets to the area where the building is kind of split level. And so this level is up on the hill a little bit. And so I suspect those units on the far left-hand side on the top will have a view of downtown, I think, from there. And so that's something as you start thinking about which unit you want to select, if you like that, you might pick that unit. So those are the floor plans, and we'll go on and go into the elevations. And what we wanted to do was have something here that felt like it was modern, it was forward-looking, and really announced what's coming with the rest of this development. Because this being the first piece, it's really our chance to kind of put a stake in the ground and really start talking about the next phase of Cavill Place as Cowan Place. And what you see there are the different materials we're using. We're using a white stucco, which we think will be kind of a nice crisp appearance to it. We're using some metal panels, which you see in the gray areas there, the darker gray. We do have a bit of brick, and we wanted to be really careful not to have the same brick that would emulate what exists today in Cavill Place. And so this is something that's more of a terracotta in nature, which this image may not completely show, but we're still working on that. And so there are two colors of brick that are shown on here. There's one that's the more terracotta, and then another that's gray. And then we have the last material are fiber cement planks, and so this is a material that again gives it a modern look to it. We also have Juliet balconies. If you look on the left-hand corner there, it's probably easiest to see. And so those aren't a true balcony, but they're a handrail, so you can open the door and have a little balcony there with or a little railing there that lets you get some fresh air in and gives you a chance to connect to the outside a bit. And so if you want to go on, Kristen, to the next image. This is the image at Stalkup and Rosedale. And in this image, we're heading west on Rosedale. And so at this point, this first project is really in a position to be the gateway to everything else that's going to come. And so we wanted to have something that really announced this corner, that really established it as the gateway, and really played off some of the imagery that you guys looked at in some of the public meetings. And so we really tried to find some of the materials and some of the color schemes that you looked at in those early public meetings. And then we also tried, because it is a long facade, it's about 300 feet long, to give you a feel of that scale. A downtown city block in Fort Worth is about 200 feet. And so to try to mitigate that length, we've broken the facade up into these smaller pieces that you start to see here that give it a more human scale. But that glass piece in the middle, those are those lounges that I was talking about on each floor. And so I think you would get a really nice view from there. You get the opportunity for the morning sun because that faces northeast. And so I think, especially in the afternoon when the sun's kind of behind you and the light's going to be behind you, I think that'll be a really pleasant place to sit and have a conversation or read a book in the afternoon. And then you see to the left into the entry courtyard there, you get some idea of some early thoughts about areas where we could have art. That's going to be a blank wall because that's a foundation wall. And so we've kicked around the idea of having artwork be in some locations like that and in the main courtyard as well. But you get a sense there of how much the hill goes up, and you see in the background that upper wing, the south wing, being a level higher than the wing facing Rosedale. And then the next image, which is the one that Ms. Bivens posted on her Facebook page, is the night view, which I'm really excited about because that lounge area being all glass, and we're going to think about how we light that so that could really be kind of a lantern, a beacon to the world about what's happening in Stop 6. And we think we're going to be able to get that where we could change the colors. And so when the Dunbar Wildcats win a game, we could make that a color, or when it's National whatever day, we could change the colors in there a bit to really announce to the neighborhood and give the neighborhood a connection back to what's happening in Cowan Place. So sorry I droned on a long time, but I get excited about what we're doing, and we're really, again, I'll say it again, super excited about this project and about where it's headed and the opportunity to work with you all, and really appreciate that opportunity. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Lou and Michael. Thank you, Michael, for that very detailed presentation. I think it's much needed. Now we'll go for questions and answers. We did have a couple of questions that were submitted, such as, when is the project going to start? I believe we answered that inside the slideshow, but if Lou wants to just chime back in, maybe someone missed that. When we say project, we're talking about Cowan Place.
Sure. So our schedule is to be able to put all of our financing in place, have the construction documents completed, be able to pull a permit, all by the end of March, so that we could have the contractor on site first at the end of the month of March of next year, 1st of April. So that's when we'll see more activity. Certainly before that, there may be some work on the site occurring, sort of pre-construction work, but the full having the contractor on board and proceeding, having the financial closing, all will occur at the end of March.
Okay. Then we have, will the relocated residents from Cavill have first preference in housing? Yes. So they have what we call the first right of refusal, which basically when those units become available, we reach out to them and say, hey, these are available according to, since this is a senior project, according to our seniors that have relocated, this is available. They will have an opportunity to come view it. And if they decide that they want to continue to stay where they're at and maybe wait to the next phase or 2 or 3, then they have that option as well. So, but if they want to come back and they qualify for this particular stage, so when I say qualify, definitely mean in regards to the age preference, then yes, they have the right to come back first, correct? Any other, did I miss anything? So there is a question, Lou, the question, or whoever wants to jump in, what is the proximity of the senior apartment to gas pipelines, wells injection site? What percentage of community input will go towards this transformation? You're on me. Oh,
that's a good question. I'm not exactly sure of the answer to that first part of that question.
Do you want me to chat? This is Mary Margaret. The gas wells, we know that there are some former gas well sites across Rosedale, and so they are west on Rosedale, and I can figure out the footage for you and follow up with that. I don't know the exact amount of distance between this site and those, but those are existing, and we'll get the details. And then the percentage of community input towards this transformation. You know, we've been working on this transformation in partnership with the city since 2013. And so during that process, we had multiple community engagements throughout the year to come up with a first transformation plan that was then updated in 2019 with, you know, almost, I would say, a year of community engagement through updates and forums and presentations and Q&A. So the 2019 transformation plan that is leading this effort had considerable community input, and what we're doing today is asking for more input. And so we want you to be a part of this process, whether you're a resident of Stop Sticks or a community stakeholder or just a community partner. And so we will continue this, and we'd love everybody to get comfortable and look at our website, SSCNI.org, and you can follow us with updates both on social media and that website to be a part of these events. And we're going to be asking for input on, you know, names and design and other things as we continue. But the original transformation plan had a ton of community input, and that's what we intend to continue.
Mary Margaret, I was just looking on Google Earth to get the dimension of the gas well sites, and I think I'm correct in saying that and judging from the aerial, I'm not exactly sure which of these things are gas well sites, but the nearest one would be more than 2,000 feet away.
And Mary Margaret and Lou, I didn't know I was muted. I'm sorry. I'm able to see now. We do have some enhanced and exploratory drilling going on right now. We do have a site at 820 in Rosedale, which is closest to Carver Heights than this location. The city does have a point person for gas well locations, and only the companies know what their activity level is right now. But what we'll do is make sure that you have that contact at City Hall, and they can identify all. I do know that we are seeing drilling now taking place very close to Lake Arlington. The company drilling doesn't know what the yield is going to be, so that's why I use the term exploratory, but we do have a contact, and Sandy and I will get that contact to you.
Perfect. We'll be happy to share that out
Thank you.
with this presentation.
And I think the city's requirement for setback from residential is 600 feet, if I remember right, Ms. Bivens. I think that's right.
600 and 300 just depends, and that's why I'm going to let somebody else answer.
Okay.
But it's safe, I can tell you that.
So I think there's another question, Lachelle, about pre-qualified contractors for demolition. And so we're still in the process of that. That requires board approval. And as soon as we obtain that from the board, we'll be making that public through a press release. I think you can expect that either at the end of this week or next week.
Now we will move on. As Demetria Bivens will give us her update in regards to matching subcontractors and small businesses with work opportunities generated by public investment. Demetria.
Hi, thanks, Lachelle. I want to talk about the Section 3 MWBE program as well as the Section 3 hiring. A lot of people have a lot of questions about what is Section 3, what is all of this entail, right? So basically what this is, whenever a community or an agency get HUD funding, there is a legal basis for them for providing jobs for Section 3 residents and awarding contracts in the areas of, certain types of these HUD financial assistance programs. So with that said, Block Construction is the general contractor for the Cowan Place project. So what our role will be for this is to go out, and we have to make an effort to find the Section 3 residents by working with the CNI, the Choice Neighborhood Initiative director, which is Lachelle, and her workforce coordinator, which is Denise. So what we've done so far is that we've gone through, we've reached out to residents. I think we have a list of about 21 right now that have shown interest of working on the Cowan Place project. So what we're doing with them is going through just kind of working out the schedule, seeing what their needs are, in addition to working with the Section 3 contractors. With this, HUD established a Section 3 business registry, which is on the HUD.gov biz registry, Section 3 biz registry, where a Section 3 company, which they can self-certify. And for right now, between now and July, you can still go and self-certify the way the current rules are. But we have learned here recently that those rules are going to be changing for the Section 3 businesses. So you may want to just keep an eye out on that. But this is for a, it's for a, for the low to low income persons, particularly those who are recipients for the government assistance for housing. And for, we want to provide self-sufficiency, this is HUD's intent, to provide self-sufficiency, as well as it's all ties around the economic development of growing Section 3 businesses as well. Next slide. And I kind of went back and forth with that, Kristen, sorry. So for the Cowan Place participation goals, on the construction side, we have MWBE of 25%, professional services, which that's on the developer side with the 15%. Section 3 hiring, as it stands currently, is 30% of new hires. And the Section 3 businesses would be 10% of the total dollar amount. And with these goals, these are for not only just for the contractor, which the prime, which I'm calling Block, and the subcontractors that come in under Block, all have to meet these requirements for these compliance efforts. Now, if you guys, you can go to the next slide. Now, if you're on the call and if you're interested in these jobs, please reach out to me and I can direct you over to Denise over at the CNI. Lachelle will probably get into this. There will be a job fair tomorrow at 10 o'clock over at Cavill as well. If you are a Section 3 business, you can go and download the information form that Block is putting out on this. And you just heard Mary Margaret talk about the stop6cni.org. Again, that's www.stop6cni.org. You'll be able to find the information form to go out and submit your information as a Section 3 business to get, so Block can make sure Block has your information, as well as if you are a resident that's looking for work, because we are looking for you. We have to make sure, we need to let you guys know what that there's going to be opportunities available. And if there's not job opportunities, then maybe we can have training programs that we'll be getting with the Envision Center with that later on. You can always contact me and my staff. Oh, let me talk about the staff. Our staff consists of, on the Section 3 side, we have Jonathan Morrison with B Leverage in Fort Worth. We're working with Tanya Vesey, Tracy Scott, and Ayana Davis on the communication and our outreach side. On one of the things that we left off is these jobs require prevailing wages. We have Tamina Shahik out of my office that's going to be monitoring all the prevailing wages and helping you, making sure that these wages, that we're in the right wage bracket. Because what we're finding, there's several wage brackets for prevailing wages. There's residents. The jobs that we're going to be doing here for Cowan Place will be considered residential and not builders. And those are two different wage determinations. So again, if you need anything from me, feel free to call out. My cell phone number is there. A lot of you guys are already reaching me, texting me by text, which is totally fine. And I look forward to assisting you guys in whichever way that we can. We'll be working with Block. She just put up the Block information form there. We've been having a lot of contractors coming in to the office. We're walking you guys through these forms, and Deidre and then we'll be going through this more in depth when they do their event on the 28th. So again, just go down, stay in tune with this SSCNI.org website. It's very informative. All the events, anything and everything that's related with this project will be on this website. And I hope I covered everything, but if not, you guys feel free to ask any questions that you want from me. Thank you.
Any questions for Demetria? I know someone did ask the question. It says, was there any mentions of contractors chosen to complete Cowan Place? So our lead project manager, Sonia Polio, mentioned that to date that contractors selected to work on Cowan Place are Bennett, Berner and Partners, which is the architect. Block Companies, as Demetria mentioned, is our general contractor. And then DLB Consultants, which is Demetria, the construction support services. In regards to, and then Mary Margaret answered the questions regarding the subcontractors. We haven't made that decision yet. All right. Any questions? I think that's it.
Michelle, there's one question about the cost to residents to move into the housing in the chat, and I'll answer that one live if we have a second.
Go ahead.
So if they were a former Cabell Place resident that was relocated under the tenant protection voucher, the housing authority will work with that tenant for relocation back to the Cowan Place site for phase 1. We don't cover relocation for other community members wanting to move into the other units. And so there are agencies that do assist with things like utility deposits and other expenses. And so we will, at the time that we're looking at leasing this up, we will work with those agencies and make sure that we're making referrals and getting that information out. I hope that answered the question.
Lachelle, Jonathan Morrison has a question. I think you can recognize him.
Jonathan, I don't see it in the chat. Am I missing it?
He just raised his hand, I think.
I know.
Can you hear me? I don't have a question. I just want to make a follow-up on what Ms. Bivens said, that we will be having some training sessions that they will plan, but if anyone already knows in the community some training that they would like to take, that they've identified, they don't have to wait on us. They can just reach out to the Envision Center, that they do have funds of tuition assistance funds available for members of the community that are seeking like trainings to enhance their income or their self-sufficiency.
And that leads right into Simeon Henderson, who is actually the senior project manager of that. Like I said, his wonderful team they're connecting them with all of those great services. So Simeon, take it away.
Right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Simeon Henderson, and I'm honored to serve as a senior project manager with Urban Strategies. Urban Strategies, we're a national nonprofit organization that focus on human capital building and community development strategies. If you can go to the next slide, please, Kristen. As you see in this slide, you see our local boots on the ground Fort Worth team. We have 3 case managers, Erica Bowman, Tashawn Beck, and Mr. Jerome Johnson. We also have 1 educational specialist, Shanice Roberts, and we're in the process of hiring 1 additional case manager, and hopefully we'll hire that person within the next few weeks. Our team locally was really responsible for ensuring that all of our former Cabell Place residents are supported, empowered, and remain engaged throughout this community transformation process. And the ultimate goal is to make sure that all of our residents that want to return back to Cabell Place, they have that option to return to our beloved community. Can you go to our next slide, please? So in order for us to provide the highest quality services to our former Cabell Place residents, we're collaborating with community stakeholders and partners throughout Tarrant County, the city of Fort Worth, and the Stop 6 community. We've assembled 4 community action teams that comprise of subject matter experts in each of these particular areas. So our first action team is our health and wellness action team. We have 13 partner agencies that will be focusing on improving the health and wellness to our Cabell Place residents, former Cabell Place residents. And they're going to do this through a holistic approach. We're going to provide quality programs, make sure everyone have access to the medical services and needs that they have. We also have an economic mobility action team. We have 9 partner agencies that will focus on increasing the income and financial sustainability for our families as well. We have 236 households, and that our focus is to increase the income and make sure that they can continue to thrive in their lives. We also have 2 education action teams. So, apologize, what's happening to my computer? Can everyone still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 2 action teams, 2 educational action teams. One is the early education action team that's focusing on making sure our young scholars are being prepared for school and kindergarten. And then we also have another action team that's focusing on making sure our students are graduating from high school and also are prepared for a career and beyond. Can you go to our next slide, please? And I apologize, my computer shut down on me briefly. So when it comes to our resident engagement, we're really excited. Since July, we've been able to engage 217 of our former Cabell Place households. To this date, we've completed 152 household assessments. And during our intake and assessment process, we have an opportunity to learn more about our families. We have an opportunity to engage them at that moment of whatever those immediate needs may be. But ultimately, we are starting the individual development plan process, which is a customized program that will allow them to reach their fullest potential based on their needs that they identify. Can you go to the next slide as well, please? So as of June 30th, all of our 236 households have been relocated throughout Tarrant County. As you see, we have pretty much 5 primary areas where our families have relocated. And when you look at Zone 1, we have 37 families, and that represents Southwest Fort Worth. Zone 2, we have 60 families, and that's Southeast Fort Worth. We have Zone 3, which we have 61 families, which is East Fort Worth. And then in Zone 4, there's 47 families that are located in that area. And when you see where it says unassigned, we know where all of those families are, but they are covering such a large geographic area, which is from North Fort Worth into some of the mid-cities of between Fort Worth and Dallas. So ultimately, because our families are relocated throughout the area, engagement is very important to us. And we've engaged our families in various ways, from engaging them with face-to-face meetings, part of our intake process. We also host a monthly virtual meeting, as well as a face-to-face monthly resident meeting. We engage with them through postal mail, as well as social media. So our goal is ultimately to keep them engaged and informed of everything that's happening throughout this process, and to value their feedback as well. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson. We have any questions? Let's see.
I've got some input. Mary Margaret, I don't want to try to type. I just can't. I can't see. But Jay Chopper just sent me Steve Cook's name as a contact for the gas well question. And as you know, our email addresses are first name dot last name, STEVE, Cook with an E on the end, for whoever wants to know. But there will be no building where it's prohibited. So we know that this location is safe. But Steve Cook, and he is the department head over property management. And so Jay suggests all questions on that go to him.
Thank you, Ms. Bivens. Miss Sharon, someone says, I'm a resident, 46 years of Stop 6 and a licensed cosmetology cosmetologist, sorry, and wants to know how to apply to work inside the beauty shop or the beauty salon inside Cowan Place. I would say the first step is once it's up and running, get with the management staff there to see how you can connect those services together. So I think that's a great connection. Great connection. So nothing like having someone from the neighborhood to serve the neighborhood. Ms. Sharice, I think I answered your question in a chat, but again, everyone can follow us on Facebook at Stop6CNI, as well as you can email us at stop6cni@fwhs.org. Get on our email distribution list. We make sure that we put all of our events, such as our job fairs, and everything on our website, as well as social media. And with that being said, upcoming events. Oh, that's me. Upcoming events tomorrow, and I'll say this again, tomorrow at 10 a.m. We will be hosting a fall job fair here at Cavill Place Community Room, the community room. Now, we have limited this to 6 employers because we know we still live in the day of COVID. We are using some precautionary measures such as masks, only rotating a couple of people in and out, checking temperature, hand sanitizer, and masks. However, we have tried our best to reach the masses going up and down Rosedale to drop out flyers to local businesses. We've taped flyers on the Rosedale Park picnic table. We've had several people to stop by just to inquire about the job fair, as well as the connection with DOB, the Section 3 job opportunities there. So anyone that is looking for employment, again, it may be a line, but we are definitely rotating people in and out just to make sure that we are practicing some type of social distancing there. So that is tomorrow at 10 to 1 o'clock. We put that again on all of our social media platforms. It's been shared over 40 times from my personal social media. So we're definitely getting the word out there. Next Wednesday, October the 28th, from 1 to 3:30, Block Companies, which is our general contractor, is having a subcontractors opportunity day. This is via Zoom. You can get that information again off of our website as well as social media. So you can make sure that you're linked in on that, as well as the afternoon or the evening portion of next Wednesday from 6 to 7:30. Our USI team is having their monthly resident meeting, and that will be Zoom as well. That's hybrid, right? Okay. So that they will have some in person as well as Zoom to give them the opportunity to do that if they want to do that. November, December, we have not set a date. We will have a demolition kickoff that is still in the planning. And I'll plug this in again. Stay tuned to the website as well as social media to make sure that you're updating, you're plugged in on that. We move on to mid-November. Again, we will have an update, another event just like this, a community update. It will be from 3 to 4:30, November 18th, which is on a Wednesday. It will be via Zoom as well. If you have any questions or concerns, make sure you email us at stop6cn9@fwhs.org. Follow us on social media. I think that should be plugged in on everybody now. At Stop6CNI. Facebook, Twitter, all of those wonderful things. And we'll make sure, again, we'll get this presentation out to you, sent today or early in the morning. And we do have a couple of more questions. We have time for questions. So we have a couple of more questions and we'll move forward from there. So, questions. Okay, we have seniors watching this particular Zoom at the Envision Center, and they emphasized on will be placed on emergency evacuation, fire alarms, race signs, AED devices, and OSHA regulation.
So, Lachelle, I'll be happy to speak to that a little bit. I'm sure Lou can follow up with really specific information. But first of all, I just want to say thank you for putting this on at the Envision Center. That is such a great idea, and we're happy that we can reach a broader audience. So, way to go, Sharon and Suzanne over at the Envision Center. So emphasis placed on emergency evacuation, fire alarms. Most of these things are required by code, and Michael and his team will plan for that in the design. Also, just when we're building a senior development in general, we always look for things that can make it stand out and be more friendly to that population. And so one of the things that when I visited some of McCormick Barron's sites and other cities, they did, like the shorter hallways Michael described in the floor plans, you know, they really are thoughtful about what it takes for a resident to walk in and get to their unit. And so elevators in places that make those hallways not as long, as well as I love the little they put a little kind of a shelf outside of each door. So, you know, when you're searching for your keys to get in the front door and that sometimes you just can't find them, or you have mail in your hand or some groceries, they put a little ledge there that you could decorate and make cute, but also be very functional. So they'll also be very thoughtful in the way that we place ADA units, which are required. And so we'll make sure that those are in locations that make ingress and egress easy. And we will be compliant with all OSHA and other requirements. AED devices, I don't know, Lou, if those are typically put in your developments today, but that is something that we can talk about for sure, to make sure that we have staff trained and a prescription for something like that to
Sure.
be in the property.
Yes. Yeah, and just to add to that, Mary Margaret, thank you. Yeah, every development will have an emergency procedures, evacuation plan that will be instituted in the buildings and shared with residents, and then just updated on a regular basis. There will be regular meetings with residents as well, communications with residents on a regular basis. Once we're occupied, to keep folks informed and to get input from residents at the same time. So yeah, it'll be, I'm sure, a lively community once it's done.
Mary Margaret, I want to share something. I want to share something with people who are on the call. I was thinking about Suzanne, hoping she was, you know, plugged in. So glad that there are people watching us at the MLK Center. What I will tell you is this is going to be a game changer for Stop 6. There has never been anything built at that corner. I checked it out, talked to all the people here. I'm 66. I never saw anything, but I talked to people older. Hats off to Michael Bennett for being bold in this piece, which is a gateway entrance. I have friends who are already just waiting and watching to see when can we apply to get there. But for my garden, I would love to be there myself, but I have to have a garden. But this is different. This is special. This community has been overlooked for decades. City Hall knows that. That's why they started the neighborhood improvement strategy in Stop 6, because that community where I live had been so overlooked. And so I want to thank Michael Bennett for the heart he put in, wanting to be a part of this project. Mary Margaret, I'm proud to be partnered with you guys. Lou, thank you for the tour you gave me of your properties. I love those wide aisles and the shelves that Mary Margaret talked about. This is going to be a real entryway and a new day for the Stop 6 community. And I promise you, when people see this, they'll be able to stop and slow down. And we have been talking to Michael Morris with the COG. Thanks to Mary Margaret, we've got a real good idea in the making. And all I say is stay tuned. You're going to be more than excited. And thank you guys for allowing me to have this say. I've got to go close my eyes because the lights are making me blind. But have a wonderful rest of the day. And thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bivens. We appreciate you. She's our fearless leader at City Hall and never backs down from a tough conversation. So we appreciate that support. The other thing I was just going to mention, as far as kind of the design aspect that Michael and Lou really gave a lot of thought to, is transportation. So we are working with Trinity Metro to make sure that we have increased access to Trinity Metro bus stops here with shelters, as well as room for the MITS buses to pull in and turn around in that circle drive you see. So we really, if you have other thoughts or questions or anything like that that we may not have considered, we appreciate you putting those forth now, because there's nothing in the ground yet, and so it's easier to make adjustments now. But we tried to be very thoughtful in the design to make sure that it would be something for the population that we hope to attract.
Any other questions? Yes, Ms. Sharice, her question was, have we considered having social service available to the residents, i.e. social workers? Absolutely. We believe in a strong resident services, supportive service program to support our families. We understand that we just can't say, here you go, here's your new place, but that supportive services, whether that is a therapist, and whether we're linking them to services with MHMR or whatever the case may be, we definitely believe in having the strong supportive service and resident engagement program.
And you're exactly right. That private health room and exam room that was on the floor plan earlier is not for one specific healthcare provider, but to be able to host a variety of healthcare providers, whether they be mental health, physical health, or other things that need to be taken on a one-on-one basis. And so we have seen that work well in other developments that McCormick Barron has done, and we look forward to adding it to this particular development in Stop 6.
Is there space and opportunity for community garden is a question.
Oh, and I'm sorry, Ms. Bivens turned off her camera when she said she couldn't move in because of the gardens. That's actually something that we do have planned for the community space. That has always been our intention, is to add community gardens to this development. So yes, absolutely.
And our next question is, will the units allow for support animals? And have we considered a dog park? That is by David Howard.
So yes, by law, we have to allow for support animals, and we enjoy doing so. That's not an issue at all. But a dog park is something that we can talk about, space and some amenities for pets. Lou just sees dollar signs adding up, I'm sure, but we'll make sure that we have the appropriate amenities for our four-legged friends as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think we have a lot of opportunity with also the future phases and family developments in that regard. Can't put it all in one place, but we certainly have a nice canvas, large canvas to work with as we move on to future phases.
Claudia Williams, yes, we will make sure that these slides are available online as well. Simeon, will you provide your email address? Ms. Jan Burks wants to know how she can get in contact with you.
I've seen Jonathan's question, but I'm not, it references another question. So, Lachelle, do you know?
No, it said no. Regarding the red line question about the eastern borders of the Choice neighborhood area.
How about we take that offline, Jonathan, and we'll get in touch with you and make sure that we get that figured out.
I believe that Sharon Armstrong had one last question.
I don't see it.
I'm looking for it. I don't see it. But I do want to say thank you to Charletra over at CTL for putting that shout out. Thank you for offering that resource to the community. If you scroll up in the comments, she's put her email in there if anybody's interested in some business coaching. She's got a couple spots left up in a new cohort.
We have no other questions. Again, we appreciate everyone coming out virtually to get an update of what's going on in the greater Stop 6 area and what's going on with Cowan Place, as well as the demolition. Again, we look forward to, if you can have anybody, know anyone looking for a job, have them to stop by on tomorrow from 10 to 1. If not, hopefully we'll see everyone again with all of the other virtual meetings we have coming up. So have a great day. Thank you again.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.